Hello, everyone. I'm Qian Shi from Pennsylvania State University. I appreciate the chance to share our work today on accurate assembly of multiple RNA-seq samples with Aletsch. Transcript assembly is the process of reconstructing full-length transcripts from RNA-seq reads to study gene level or isoform level expression. For reference-based transcript assembly, we started with read alignments. From the read alignments, we first construct splice graph. A splice graph is a weighted acyclic graph. It consists of the vertices indicating partial exons and the edges indicating junctions, and also the weight indicates the coverages. Then we decompose this splice graph into a set of paths, each path representing a transcript with its own coverage. This inferred number often thought to be positively related to the correctness of these transcripts. Meta-transcript assembly instead handles multiple samples in the assembly procedure. This is a bit different from the single sample assembler widely used. So here is the question: why do we need to consider integrating multiple samples in one program? There are several reasons here. First, because of the volume of the RNA-seq data is increasing rapidly with different sequencing protocols, such as bulk Illumina short reads and SMART-seq3 single-cell RNA-seq data here. Also, transcripts assembled from single sample or single cell often remain to be fragmented or incomplete. For example, like if a junction happened to be not sequenced in a single sample, then there is little chance for this junction to be correctly recovered. Meta-assembly, on the other hand, it can take advantage of shared information across various samples and provides a promising opportunity to assemble fully length transcripts. This brings us to the next question. How can we assemble multiple samples? Is it possible that we use the existing single sample assemblers? The answer is yes. There are some intuitive options here. Option 1, we can use a single sample assembler for each sample independently and finally pull the output transcripts all together. Indeed, this method is time efficient because we can easily do the parallelism very easy. However, due to the sequencing error and also the alignment error, individual splice graphs are not that robust. They might be erroneous or incomplete. What's more, aggregating unreliable transcripts can lead to a surge in the final false positives. Both of these limitations are caused by the fact that they ignore shared information across samples. So how to fully use the shared information? Let's consider the second option. How about merging all read alignments at the beginning to build a large combined splice graph first, and then apply a single sample assembly to this large alignment file? This approach tends to reach consensus among samples and use the most conservative transcripts. However, it overlooks divergence among individual samples, making it less convenient for some downstreaming tasks, especially for single-cell analysis. Additionally, due to the aggregated erroneous junction or ambiguous splicing site, resolving such splicing variance in a complicated combined splice graph is very complex. Some single sample assemblers also struggle to scale well with the multiple bulk dataset because the input alignment file is a bit too huge. There are some existing single sample pipeline based on these two options, such as StringHead2 with its merge option and Scalable2 plus Taco. In contrast to single sample pipeline, there are still some meta-assembler like Transmeta and Cyclops. They decompose their specialized combined graph using the shared information. However, these existing meta-assemblers have limitation under some certain conditions, such as in the scenario of largely divergent sample or low coverage samples. To address this limitation, we propose a new meta-assembler, Aletsch. Aletsch recognizes the diversity of individual samples and effectively harnesses shared information across multiple samples. Aletsch begins by, where is the pointer? Aletsch begins by constructing both the individual and the combined splice graph. Upon these graphs, in the second stage, we use them, Aletsch bridge the paired end reads to store the full-length read fragments. After obtaining these complete fragments, we use them to go back to refine individual graphs. In the next stage, we decompose both refined and individual combined splice graphs. This results in a set of candidate transcripts. Furthermore, we train the random forest model with various well-designed features here to develop a scoring function that ranks the candidate transcripts. In this figure, the transcript with read clicks next to it represents a reliable transcript, which we're gonna ready for the output. In our final output, we generate this reliable final transcripts along with their confidence score. Let's now first explore the bridging module in detail. Bridging is the process of inferring full-length fragments of paired end reads. For each paired end read, there is often a missing part between two mates. Bridging fills in this missing part, aiming to provide a more complete junction and a more accurate weights of the splice graphs. In our previous work, a polynomial time dynamic programming algorithm has been designed to maximize bottleneck weight between two mates. Initially, we attempted to bridge the paired end reads within individual sample independently. However, unfortunately, not all of the reads can be successfully bridged. For example, like the R3 here, because there is even no path between V2 and V4 in its own individual splice graph G1. There should be some paths between V2 and V4. Why? Because the read fragments originate from some transcripts. In this case, if initial bridging fails, we seek help from the combined graph because it has the richer junction information. In the combined graph, there are indeed some paths from V2 to V4. Based on our bridging mechanism, we select the path with the maximum bottleneck weight. In this case, we select paths V2 to V3 to V4 for bridging R3. The orange dashed blocks here represents the bridged fragments of R3 in the combined graph. Let's rethink this question. Why might initial bridging fail? This failure is a very strong signal to indicate that individual splice graph may have some missing junctions. After catching this strong signal, we use the bridged fragments to go back to refine the previous individual graph, restoring the junctions and correcting the edge weights. With the refined individual graph along with the combined splice graph here, we are ready to start graph decomposition. In graph decomposition, we iteratively decompose each vertex locally for both types of the graphs. Using a very helpful information here, we call phasing path. Phasing path is defined to be the bridged fragments covering more than one edges in the splice graph. For instance, in this figure, the red dashed arrow line here represents the phasing path threading through the center vertex B. We require that every phasing path should appear entirely at least once in candidate transcripts. This is natural, still because that we know read fragments originate from some transcripts. However, some edges may not be threaded by some phasing paths. So after decomposition, this leads to some isolated vertexes like the U3 and the U3 prime here. Of course, we cannot simply ignore these vertexes because this will disconnect our splice graph. To resolve this problem, we now introduce our secondary decomposition principle, support guidance. In the absence of phasing paths, the composition is guided by the information from the other samples. For each edge E, we use entry MEJ to represent the weight support contributed by sample J to the current edge E. ME is just a vector of the MEJ, providing a comprehensive view of all the samples. In the example here with 3 samples, the ME vector has a length of 3. Using this additional information, we now are able to design some rules to build connections for isolated vertices. After decomposing all the graphs, we have a pool of candidate transcripts. Our goal here is to rank these transcripts based on their reliability. We designed 50 features to characterize candidate transcripts, quantify either transcript abundance or their topological structure in the splice graph. We trained a random forest model to learn a probability score for each candidate transcript, indicating the likelihood of them being correct. Correct here means it matches reference annotation. Once we have scores for each individual transcript, we calculate the final metascore. This metascore is defined to be the average of all these candidate transcripts with the same intron chain, like the top 3 and the top 4 here. In the final output, we generate reliable transcripts along with their average confidence score. In the evaluation, we evaluate Aletsch on 3 groups of real dataset. Each consists of a mix of bulk and a single-cell dataset. Group 1, G1, is our training dataset. We train different models with different chromosomes in this group, so this group also serves on the different chromosomes, on the evaluation on different chromosomes. Group G2, we increase the testing complexity in this group a little bit. We evaluate Aletsch performance on this group of the untouched human dataset. The data distribution in this group might be different from the previous group. In the last group, G3, we further evaluate Aletsch on the dataset from the other species, such as we use the mouse dataset here. In our detailed training procedure, we trained 2 models on real human dataset in group 1, Aletsch-CHROM1 and Aletsch-CHROM-all. Aletsch-CHROM1 is trained with RNA-seq reads aligned to chromosome 1, and Aletsch-CHROM-all is trained with reads from all chromosomes in this group. This raises a question. Because we use the same reference annotation to label training and testing dataset, is there a risk of data leaking? Our answer is no. Because the features in Aletsch are only just some quantification of either abundance or topological structures without reviewing any genomic coordinates. But still, we carefully design the experiments to show Aletsch-CHROM1 can be generalized to different chromosomes, and Aletsch-CHROM1's performance on untouched dataset matches Aletsch-CHROM-all. We compile Aletsch with 2 meta-assemblers, transmeta, cyclas, as well as 2 single-sample pipeline, string-2 merge, scalable2 plus tackle. We use the commonly adopted precision recall curve as our evaluation metrics, adjusting with different threshold of confidence score for Aletsch or transcript abundance provided by the other method. Here is the precision recall curve for testing Aletsch-CHROM1 on the other chromosomes in the group 1. The star symbol here on the top of the curves represents the scenario where we disable all the filtering and the tools can reach their highest recall. The circle point in the middle shows the precision and the recall in tools default setting. We can see that Aletsch-CHROM-all's curve is notably higher than the other tools in this group. This success suggests that the model learned from only one chromosome can be adapted to the other chromosomes. For For group G2, we tested both model Aletsch-Crom1 and Aletsch-Crom0 on this untouched human data sets. Aletsch substantially outperformed the other method on this group. Additionally, we observed that Aletsch-Crom1 shows no significant performance difference between chromosome 1 and the other chromosomes. Also, Aletsch-Crom1 and Aletsch-Crom0 exhibit nearly identical performance. These are good news because this observation strongly indicates that there is no data leaking in our experimental setting, because otherwise one would expect a significant drop or boost under different scenarios. The last group, G3, we tested Aletsch on the mouse dataset in this group. For both bulk and a single-cell dataset, mouse dataset, Aletsch performs the best, achieving remarkable transferability across different species. In summary, Aletsch is a meta-assembler designed for accurate assembly of multiple bulk and single-cell dataset. It uses information from multiple samples while retaining the distinct characteristic of each individual sample. Our Aletsch is publicly available on GitHub, and we are continuing to explore this work for a meta-assembly for a mix of short and long reads, and exploring advanced embedding techniques to potentially replace current handcraft features. I would like to thank my supervisor, Ming-Fu Shao, and all my lab mates for their contribution and suggestions. Thank you all for your attention to this work. Oh, this is, so you mean why I need to incorporate long reads or why don't? Yes, yeah, this is our next step. Since the long reads will provide a more comprehensive view of the splicing variants. However, for the long reads, they typically have a larger error rate. So that's why we tend to do our future work in a mix of short and long reads. Then it can comprise each other.